Thank you for inviting me to speak in this symposium. I'm very excited. I'd like to talk to you about issues that not always are spoken very clearly, about intimacy and Parkinson. And the picture that you see are pictures from my hospital, the Sheba Medical Center. But I would like to start with a disclosure. And my disclosure here is that my talk is relevant to all couples, to all kind of relationship diversity, to couple diversities. But you know, it is very complicated to talk about various couples, like he and she, and he and he, and she, and whatever. So I'm taking a model of a heterosexual couple because it's easier to talk about, but I refer to all diversities. And all around my disclosure statement, you can see some of the picture of congresses and lectures that I've given in the last few years around the world. So let's start with my talk. Intimacy. It's not easy, but when you think about intimacy, it's like talking about intimacy, looking into ourselves in a corner which is very specific. Sometimes it is a place where other people are not aware of. So we'll talk today about intimacy. But for good intimacy, we need also communication. We need communication on two levels. I have to be very honest and open and communicate with myself, but also with important people around me. So how do we communicate actually? So we have to set aside time for communication. We should talk and share in an innocent, open way. And we have to listen also, because sometimes we like to give advice and not really listen. But we have to listen to what the other said in an empathic way. And then when it happens, we feel that we get closer. So we need this communication. And communication can be verbal, but it can be non-verbal. Look at the picture and see how many emotions you can gather just from looking at the movement, at the posture, or at the face of people. Let's look at some other pictures and see that communication can be really very effective, even if we don't say a word. And it is very important because in Parkinson, sometimes one of the burdens is that it is difficult for us to express ourselves, or sometimes to express ourselves quickly enough in order to say what we feel, but we can express it sometimes by gestures, by movements, or by making face expressions. And I know that Parkinson also stops some of the natural face expressions, but maybe you can practice it like exercise. So this is the part of communication that we would like to have, but with whom can we be intimate when we want to communicate in intimacy? Who are those that we can be intimate with them? So actually there are many people. It can be our partner. It can be our caregiver. It can be a family member, someone. It can be one of our healthcare professionals. It can be a friend. It can be a neighbor, even a pet. And very interestingly, in the light of the development of technology and of digital communication in our world, we can also have online friends. And online friends can be real friends. It is something valuable. So what is it, this intimacy? This intimacy, what I'm talking about? I have to emphasize and to focus on the aspects of intimacy. And actually, I would like to focus on 4 aspects of intimacy. One of them is the emotional part of the intimacy, like caring, liking, loving, respecting, and trusting. And I can tell you that every person has the right to share love or to get love, to share trust and get trust. It's not easy. But when we feel this part of emotional intimacy, we feel very good. We feel close. But intimacy has another aspect, which is even more important than the emotional one. And this is the physical or the sensual one. It is like touching, hugging, cuddling, embracing. And this physical and sensual part of intimacy is not the erotic part. It's a non-erotic part because it supplies us with feelings of relaxation and refreshing feeling. And we feel comfortable. And we can touch one another. We can hug our baby. We can hug our dog. We can hug a friend in a loving way, in a relaxing way, in a refreshing way. And these are really important parts of our quality of life. But there is another aspect of intimacy. And this has to do with the sharing and feeling a closeness, but very special closeness. We feel empathy. We feel that when we share, the person who listens to our thoughts, to our goals, to our plans, to our feeling, is empathic, not trying to criticize us. It is an empathic closeness which is supportive. It gives us a feeling of security. So this is a supportive and secure communication which helps us feel very close to someone. And we need it. For example, I can give you an example. For example, sometimes I can talk to my partner, and I would like to share with my partner that in the afternoon when I came back from work, I was driving on the highway and there were so many traffic jams. And I share with him, and I just want to tell him that I'm tired. And just that he will know that I came very frustrated from this drive. And maybe he can offer me a cup of tea or coffee. But if my partner, instead of being empathic, and this is what my husband usually does, usually he will say, why did you take the highway? You know that at 5 o'clock in the afternoon, nobody takes the highway. Why didn't you open your Waze application and find another way? So this is not the empathic way of feeling intimate and close. Because feeling intimate and close is share with me what I am feeling. I don't want any criticism and not any advice. And then I feel close. It doesn't mean that on another option or on another occasion, I would like to ask for an advice. So we have the three aspects, the emotional, the physical, which is sensual because it has to do with our senses, and the empathic closeness, which to feel as special, to feel very special closeness to another person. But there is another aspect of intimacy, and this is the erotic one, the sexual one, to be emotionally attracted to someone, to be physically aroused, to get excited, to be stimulated sexually, to reach orgasm or not reach orgasm, it doesn't matter, to have an erection or not have an erection, to get to have lubrication or not, it doesn't matter. But this is the erotic part. And when we look at our intimate world, it has all these aspects, the non-erotic aspects and the erotic aspects. Now let's go on and continue. And let's ask ourselves, why should we work on this intimacy? Why do we need it? Why do we not need to increase intimacy? And what we find is very interesting. It is interesting because intimacy increases our emotional and physical relaxation without any medication. It increases our self-esteem. We feel good. We feel evaluated. It increases our well-being and vitality. Sometimes in many research, we see that even when you are intimate, physically intimate, for example, let's imagine that we have a baby and the baby cries. And sometimes when we just hug the baby, just touch the baby, it relieves the pain or the distress of this baby. So it doesn't happen only to babies. It happens also to us at any age. And it doesn't matter if I have Parkinson or another kind of an illness or medical problem. So this is a mean of expressing love, expressing gratitude to someone. It can be our partner. It can be a friend. And Parkinson's disease is really not a reason to refrain from intimacy, from touching physically, from touching emotionally one another. So what say the research? The research shows us that intimacy and sexuality, the erotic and the non-erotic sexuality, touching or getting excited, it doesn't matter. It is an important aspect of quality of life. But there is a problem. It is rarely discussed by people with Parkinson's disease together with their spouses. People do not discuss these issues. They are too delicate. People are afraid to touch them. And also at the neurologist office or another health professional, it is unspoken. We have to raise it up. So what happens? Why is intimacy so significant to our health? What are the health benefits that we get from intimacy? What happens? Something magical happens when we touch, when we hug, when we love, when we feel close. And what happens is that the brain start to produce happiness hormones, and they increase. Which one of the happiness hormones we are talking about? I'm talking about two of them. One of them is the oxytocin, which increases the feeling of empathy, generosity, and reduces pain. We feel kind of love to others. Even the oxytocin is named as the love hormone. They call it also the hug hormone. So when I hug someone, a baby, a friend, my dog, or my partner, a lot of oxytocin is secreted. And at the same time, another hormone, happiness hormone, is produced. This is the endorphin. The endorphin creates euphoria and happiness, and again, less pain. So can you imagine that by increasing my chances to have intimacy in my life, I produce drugs which are so effective without taking any drugs, and at the same time, something else happens. Stress hormones in my brain decrease. So I get some kind of very happy contribution to my life. And when this happiness hormone increase and these stress hormones decrease, I think to myself, when does it happen? So it happens when we hug, and when we kiss, and when we cuddle, and when we caress, but also during sexual arousal and during orgasm. And it doesn't matter if this sexual arousal is solo, me with myself, or is in a couple situation. So again, Parkinson is not a reason to stop, to refrain from intimacy or from touching in a non-erotic or erotic way, because the contribution is very high. And it is very high to people with Parkinson, to their partners. And by the way, if we have health professionals who listen to my lecture, also you in your private life, you have to take care for your intimacy and your touching and the touching in your life. So what happens when we have Parkinson? Parkinson really imposes on us obstacles and difficulties. It's not easy because we have non-motor symptoms and we have motor symptoms, and they really challenge us with our intimacy. Let's look at them. Let's imagine neuropsychiatric problems. If I'm anxious, or I am depressed, or I feel apathic, how can I have the desire or the motivation to touch someone, to hug someone, to share? And if I have sleep problems, sleep disorders, and I have to sleep separately, maybe I lose the chance to hug my partner before we go to sleep. And if I am tired, very tired, I can lose it. And if one of the PD symptoms, Parkinson's symptoms, is pain or sweating or having problems in my skin of seborrhea, or if I have mask faces where I cannot really share my feeling because I look as if I am bored or indifferent or apathic, and sometimes I have speech problems, swallowing problems, and I cannot express what I want to express. And the motor problems, sometimes I cannot touch. I remember that I had a patient and he loved to hug his partner, his wife. But when he was hugging his wife, sometimes he lost his instability, you know, he had postural instability. And sometimes he would almost fall on her. So she hated this hugging. So Parkinson, with the motor and the non-motor symptoms, challenge us to be creative and to find solutions, how to have the 4 aspects of intimacy in our life, in spite of all these symptoms. So how can we increase our intimacy when we have so many problems here? So we have, as I told you, we have to be creative. We have to be creative. For example, you can see here on the wheelchair. On the wheelchair, this is Dr. Mitch Tepper. Mitch Tepper is an American psychologist and sexologist. And you see in the picture, you see him. He's on a wheelchair for many years because of some accident that he had. And on his site, he has a site, you can find Mitch Tepper's site. He has YouTubes with videos, with short videos, which explain how can you be physically intimate and sexually intimate, even if you are on a wheelchair and you have disabilities which cause you problems even in posing in bed as you'd like to do and moving in bed. But if he is generous to himself and he says, I deserve it, it is my right to be there, and you share it with your partner, and you try to be creative, and sometimes you need someone professional to help you be more creative. Maybe your physiotherapist can give you some ideas of exercise, how to move better. And sometimes you can satisfy yourself with holding hands with one another. It's not easy, because if you get excited and you have tremor, then you have to think, maybe I have to plan the time that I want to touch my partner. Maybe I have to choose a better hour during the day when my tremor is low, is almost invisible, or I don't feel it almost at all. Or if I have slowness or bradykinesia, maybe I can find hours when I'm more active. And sometimes I don't have any person, living person, to touch or hug. And I can use something else like these stuffed animals, these puffed animals and soft animals, and I can do it better. So it's not easy, but it is possible, especially when we allow ourselves to do it. And now we have another challenge. We have a period which is terrible. The world has a pandemic, everybody knows, the coronavirus, the COVID-19. How can we be creative now? Sometimes we are stuck at home. Sometimes we are stuck at home with a partner and sometimes alone. So for example, here you can see hug tunnels. They created with special transparent plastic and some sleeves that you put your hands on the sleeves and you can hug someone. And you can criticize it and say, well, it's not like a real touch of a real warm skin. That's right. But we can find solutions. When one action or one ability does not function, we'll find another ability. We can be creative and find these things. And if you are a couple at home and you have too much togetherness, you sometimes feel suffocated with one another, you don't want to talk to one another, then find the time at home. Even when you are in a lockdown, find time when you are separate. Each one is in his room for the next 2 hours. And what do you do in the next 2 hours? Maybe you open the internet and find a yoga class, join a breathing class, join a meditation, watch a movie, find something to do that you like. Maybe just go to sleep. But you need the time separately in order to have also time together. And in the time together, you can even plan a date. How do you plan a date at home? So first we have to invite one another. Let's say that I invite my partner today at 8 o'clock in the evening, and we'll decide that we'll take a corner in our living room, and maybe we'll put a nice tablecloth, maybe we'll put a candle, maybe a bottle of wine or a cup of coffee, and we'll sit. But what will we talk about? I, for example, live with my partner so many years. So what shall we talk about? We can talk maybe about things that make us happy. For example, we can take our mobile or take a computer and open a collection of pictures from a good vacation that we had 2 years ago or 10 years ago. Or maybe you have albums like book albums and you can look at the picture and smile and remember and raise into your brain good memories. This is a very good idea. But you can also decide to have a date and watch a film on your TV and enjoy the film together. We can go down if we can walk, we can go down and have a stroll around and maybe sit on a bench, take with us a sandwich, something to drink, and just sit outside. Maybe we choose a night where the moon is full. So we can do a lot of things that have to do with intimacy, with the sharing, being together, having time together, touching, hugging, and doing all these things. So I would like to give you homework assignment, but I'm very limited. I cannot check that you do the homework. So you have the freedom to choose it or to throw the idea away. So what is the home assignment? It is 1 minute, 1 hug a day. How do we do a 1 minute, 1 hug a day? We do it in a very special way. We stand in front of one another if we can stand. If we can't stand, we'll sit. I can sit and maybe my partner will sit on my lap. We can lie at bed and hug one another. But the idea is that we put one hand on the upper side of the back, as you see in this picture, they are here, the white t-shirt. And the other one we put down. And we put our head, we lean on the shoulder of our partner. And we do not move. It's not touching or moving or touching intimate areas. It's just hugging for 1 minute, putting our head and trying to listen to the heart of our partner or to the breathing of our partner. And in 1 minute, your brain will increase the level of happiness hormones, decrease the level of stress hormones, and contribute to your immune system and to your health. And you can find, if you don't have a partner, find someone that you can hug with. Yeah, I don't mean that you go on the street and you take someone, because I will not come to testify for you at court, okay? So you have to find someone who agrees to have a hug with you. Now, the hug is not having sex. It's a friendly, pleasant, comforting, trusting hug. No sex after that. No erotic intimacy after that. This is a 1 day relaxing, increasing happiness hug. And if 1 minute for you is too long, half a minute is good enough. So this is a very important part of your homework if you choose to make it. Okay? Let's say that you don't have anyone to hug, you don't have anyone to touch, but maybe you can have a meeting with a professional massagist and ask for reflexology session or shoulders and back massage, or cranial massage, which is head massage, or whole body massage. Find a way. If you don't have someone who can touch you, you can also go and have a face treatment, or even go to your hairdresser, because when we are at our hairdresser, actually we have a nice touch. And we can close our eyes and just feel the touch. And this is not sex, and this is not an invitation for sex. It is really this friendly, pleasant, comforting hug or touch. So we can find other ways to have touch with someone if we don't have a way to have the 1 minute intimate touch that we can choose. But we can also choose a self-intimate sensual activity, like having a shower. Look at this baby. He's feeling every drop of water on his face, his or her face. I even do not know if it is a boy or a girl. But look at the pleasure. Look at the feeling. We can do a shower like this and let the water, just the water, hug us and touch part of our body. We can do it also with a body cream. Just spread body lotion on our hands, on our arms, on our face, on our whole body. But if you do it with a purpose focus, with very high focus sensuality, meaning not being very efficient, like, you know, soaping here, soaping there, washing here and washing there, and wiping yourself. No, take from every now and then, take some time to have high sensuality in something that you do, and you feel the pleasure that you do. And don't skip it. It's very easy to find someone that you like, something that you like. If you swim, you can use swimming, because when we swim, we can imagine that the water is caressing us, cuddling us, hugging us all around. It is just the way you tune your brain and your thoughts, and you can increase your intimate minutes and your intimate feelings. Now, some people use the modern technology. For example, pepper. Pepper is used in Japanese houses, in many Japanese houses. And this is a semi-humanoid robot, a very intelligent one. and he can read and teach. Children play with the robot, communicate. The robot can dance with you. The robot can do a lot of things with you. And actually the goal of this robot is to make people enjoy life, and it facilitates relationship. And if you don't have a relationship, because some family just add it to the family as another member of the family, but it can connect you with people around the world. So today we have also modern technologies for this intimacy if we don't have it available in our family or in our home. Now, let's say that you want to communicate your intimate needs. And let's say that you want to share with someone problems. Let's say that you want to talk about your personal, very sensitive issues. How do you do it? With whom will you talk? Sometimes you find that your partner is too sensitive about it, because maybe the issues that you want to talk about have to do with your partner. So you want someone else. So I'd like to show you with whom can you actually make it simple. So let's make it really simple. For example, I give you some questions that people with Parkinson or their partner shared with me. For example, I want to share my worries about the future. Or one man with Parkinson's told me, my grandchildren, stop to hug me. Or when I'm feeling sexually aroused, my tremor increases and I don't know what to do with it. Or my 6-year-old grandson thinks that I'm always angry at him. Or my desire is high and it creates frustration. When I try to hug my wife, she rejects me. How can I have spontaneous sex with my bradykinesia? So there can be many questions, intimate questions that you have. So what can we do? First, find the right person to share with. Who is it? Someone who makes you feel comfortable, someone who is empathic, someone that you feel confidentiality with this person, and the person is not non-judgmental. Then prepare yourself. Be prepared. What do I mean? Formulate your question. If it is difficult for you to speak when you are excited, write it down. Be focused. And also think, what do I expect? What do I want? And write it. It is easier. Sometimes we forget. And for example, when I go to my physician, always I come with a list, because I know that the physician tries to start to talk to me with me and I forget half of the list, half of my questions. So I come prepared. Then practice it loud. Why do I mean loud? Because these are issues that maybe you never talked about. So read it loud, read the problem, or discuss with someone, practice it. Because sometimes the words are uncomfortable, especially when we deal with sexuality. So many people feel uncomfortable to say, my desire is high, or I don't feel arousal, or I have problems with my erection. So we have to practice the words themselves. And if you need your doctor or your health professional, inform them in advance that you need this time. On this session, you need extra time. So set the time. So find the right person, prepare yourself, practice loud, write down, and set the proper time. And now I would like to give you some tips. Now, these tips I received from people with Parkinson and from their partners. So these are original tips that I received from Americans and Canadian people with partners, with Parkinson and their partners. And I read it. And what they say, if you want to keep your intimacy, investigate your needs. Talk about it. Don't forget personal time. I told you that the time that we spend separately. Use your personal time for shopping and walking, or take a relaxing bath, or take a dancing class, even on the internet, meet friends, take a course, read a book, go to swim, talk to your doctor and health professionals. And this is very important, especially for care partners. And I'm talking now to you care partners, because sometimes you spend so much time with your partner, with your spouse who has Parkinson, that you forget your needs, your special personal time, and you are so burned out that you lose your ability to cope with the challenges of the disease. So you need it, take it. These are the tips were for people with Parkinson. And I talk now to you, people who live with Parkinson disease. Guard your partner's health. Reduce his or her distress and burden as much as you can. Can you make a tea? Make them a tea. Can you make a sandwich? Make a sandwich. Can you say thank you, compliment, Kurt, don't forget. Appreciate, express your appreciation. Give a small treat, not only on a Halloween. A sweet, a chocolate. Make a sandwich, a cup of tea. If it is difficult for you, ask someone to prepare you special notes, thank you notes for various things, and take them out and use them. And if you want to be physically intimate, to hug, to touch, to be sexually intimate, plan sex. Plan it when motor symptoms are minimal, both of you. Try to have pleasant touch by applying oil or cream on the skin. So then even if you have tremor or rigid touch, it will be nice. Use aids for non-erotic touch and sex. Plan positions in advance to be comfortable, not to move in the middle, because if you move in the middle, you lose your attention. Use lubricants during intercourse. And when you use the lubricants, put some of the lubricants at the entrance of the vagina and a lot of lubricants on the penis, because the penis has to slide in. So the penis needs the lubricant. And if you need, you can use satin sheets to ease movement on the bed. And all these were tips of people with Parkinson. And again, some tips for you, the care partners. If you sleep in separate rooms, which is important because sleep is important. So if sleep is disturbed, sleep separately, but you can plan a love date. You may decide to do intercourse or stop it if you don't like it. If you experience any sexual dysfunction, you can decide to have no intercourse anymore, but you can plan non-erotic touch sessions. You can have solo sex, masturbation, which is an optional solution for stress reduction and for pleasure. So you don't have to do all this, but you see that you have so many options. And increase and enrich your life with touch. Hug whoever you can. Find activities with physical touch, as I told you. Making cakes, making dough, paper mache, and find non-erotic touch with your partner. Another last thing, I think that you can increase your happiness by laughing. Because when we laugh, laugh contributes to our general health. It reduces stress, it reduces tension of the muscles, and improves our immune system. So don't look at all the TV news. You don't need to see all of them, maybe once a day. Don't look at dramas. Watch comedies, read jokes, share jokes, even if you do it alone or with someone.
This is the Happy Hour program. Make your work a pleasure. Move with the rhythm of music. Our next selection, Brahms' Hungarian Dance, number 5.
15 cents, please.
I wish to thank you very much for listening, and I finish my presentation with some pictures from my trips in Israel. Thank you very much.